Just going to keep an eye on the YouTube and then I'll let you know when we're live.
Cool, I'm just going to mute myself, but I'll unmute when you tell me.
And we are live. Hello, everybody. So welcome everyone to our latest GDN event. Thank you for joining. We're very excited to be here to learn a little bit more about the new mentoring platform for the Go community. But before we dive into that, for those of you who are kind of new to the GDN meetup events, the GDN is short for Go Developer Network. It's an organization constructed by GoBridge and Google to introduce and empower underrepresented groups with tech to the Go community. The GDN helps grow local communities via kind of sponsored meetups, provides training workshops around the world, and helps bring resources like Play with Go and Exercism to the Go community, which you'll hear more about. We're really excited that we kind of get to play this part in helping grow the community, and we're always looking for people to come speak, get involved. So please do reach out if you're interested in helping the Go community in any way. We'll be more than happy to direct you to various ways that you can help. Today's event is going to be live streamed, as you all are seeing on the GDN YouTube channel. However, if you want to ping this link to friends, family after the event, we will be posting the live recording probably later today to be shared around, and we will also be tweeting about it. Any questions are going to be tracked by myself in the YouTube chat. I'll be jumping in as Jeremy goes through if there are any questions that feel kind of poignant to be asked at that moment. However, otherwise, we're going to wait till the end of the presentation, and then I'll be kind of fielding some questions as they come in. In Gopher Slack, you can join the mentoring Slack channel. I'll also be monitoring that as much as possible. And if you want to do any chatter, follow up after the event, that's also where I'd encourage you to go. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a little bit of information on what we're going to be hearing about today. So we're going to be talking about Exercism, which is now the official platform for GoBridge and GDN. The team at Exercism has put kind of months of work into preparing the platform for this day. It's designated to help, get you really good at programming. It's kind of built around a system of self-directed learning, practice, and mentoring. I won't say too much though, because I know that Jeremy's going to be diving in and giving us lots of information. So who is Jeremy? Jeremy Walker is the co-founder of Exercism and Chaton. He's a software developer and entrepreneur who's been building tech businesses and not-for-profit for about 15 years. He's passionate about creating opportunities through education. And in his spare time, he boulders and gets geeky about coffee. So welcome, Jeremy. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Angelica.
And without further ado, over to you.
Cool. Hello, everyone that's watching and everyone that is watching back afterwards. Appreciate you all taking the time. So I've put a short presentation together that just talks through a little bit about what Exercism is, how you can get involved, how you can help out with Exercism and use Exercism. And then depending on time, I can either show a little bit of Exercism or we can spend more time on Q&A. The platform is there, it's free, it's open, so you can go and explore it to your heart's content afterwards. Hopefully everything inside Exercism is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I need to give too much of a walkthrough, but it might be nice to show you a couple of bits and pieces. So to start off with, introducing Exercism. So what is Exercism? By the way, it is now nighttime in England, so I am being totally lit by the glow of my screen. So my face is going to change lighting with every slide, depending on how bright the slide is. So I apologize for the ghostly look. So what is Exercism? So Exercism is a platform, as Angelica said, for helping people get really good at programming. And one of our big things is that we want to do that regardless of someone's financial situation, wherever they're geographically located, whatever their life looks like. If somebody has the intent and the right attitude towards going and learning, we want to be the place that they can come and get really good at programming. So we're not targeted at beginners. That's something that's important to understand. Beginners could come and learn to program on Exercism, but they're going to need to use a lot of other resources to support their learning, and we're not teaching them the basics of programming. Where we are focused is on getting people really good at the programming language they've chosen, so taking them from sort of a upper beginner through intermediate through advanced, or for people who are experienced programmers in a different language who are learning their second or third or whatever programming language. So everything we do is centered around this trio of learning, practice, and mentoring. And I'll look at those three in more depth. But I think it's really important at the start as well, just to say we're a non-profit organisation. Exism's 100% free for anyone, and we're an open source organisation. So everything that we do pretty much is built by the community for the community. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So some high-level stats just to help you understand a bit about what Exism looks like. So we have 750,000 users. We've grown entirely by word of mouth since 2013 when we first started. We've had 3.8 million submissions across 4,000 exercises across 55 languages. So obviously today we're talking about Go, but we've got loads of students from lots of different backgrounds, lots of different languages, as well as Go. So if you're a Go developer and you want to try something else, you can come and do that. Or if you've previously been developing something else, Exism's a great place to learn Go. And everything we do, and I'll talk about this more in a minute, is centered around mentoring. So we've had over 300,000 mentor discussions from 10,000 volunteer mentors who are helping other people get better at programming. And everything we do, as I said, is built by volunteers. We've had over 7,000 volunteers contribute to our code base, whether that's learning content, whether that's tooling, things we can talk about a bit more in a moment. And Exism is a very large GitHub organization. We have 350 different GitHub repositories covering different languages and different tooling and different parts for each of those languages. So that's our sort of top level everything Exism stats. Just to break that down a little bit and look at Go specific stats. So we've had 52,000 Go students so far, again, all word of mouth. And 350,000 submissions from those students. We have 135 exercises now in Go. That's growing all the time. But yeah, that's where we're at so far. 34,000 mentor discussions. We have 775 mentors who have volunteered. We have a couple of what I think of as super mentors within Go. I'd say 5 or 6 people who are there day in, day out, just mentoring people and have done an amazing job of that. And all of the content and tooling is, as I say, being built by volunteers. And Go has actually been a really interesting platform and language for us in terms of a lot of the tooling that we've built. There's a lot of automated mentoring and stuff that I'll talk more about. That's been prototyped largely in Go over the last few years. So Go has been leading the way for Exism in a lot of that. So I talked about the 3 different elements of Exism. So learning, practice, and mentoring. So to start with learning, our tracks have syllabuses that take people through the different programming language concepts that you need to know in order to become good at that programming language. So we focus on developing fluency within a programming language. So we want people to think like the developer that thinks natively in that language. So if you're learning Go, we want you to think like a Go developer. We want you to be problem solving like a really experienced Go developer would problem solve. We want you to use the idioms of the language in the same way a really experienced Go developer would use those idioms. So the syllabuses we have take you through all of the different programming concepts within a language, within Go, for example, and how you use those idiomatically in a fluent way. And the way you learn on Exism and the way you practice is through exercises. So everything is centered around exercises, thus the name Exism. And we have hundreds of exercises to work through. I think I said 133 in Go a moment ago. And the key to an Exism exercise is that solving it is fun. It's an interesting thing to do, to solve a programming challenge. But actually what Exism is really about is solving it in that idiomatic way. So you might solve the same exercise, I don't know, say, looking at the ones on the screen, high scores, or Hamming. Hamming is a good example. So Hamming you could solve in probably 30 different programming languages in Exism. We've got it in lots of languages. But the way you solve it in Go probably looks very different to how you might solve it in Ruby or in C# or in JavaScript or in Rust. And so although the first time you solve an exercise, there's a sort of problem-solving bit about learning, working out the exercise, working out the algorithm or whatever it is, actually where most of the time is spent is around working out how to write that code so it looks like it's Go code. It feels like it's Go code. It doesn't feel like it's Ruby code that's just been transliterated into Go or vice versa. The third part of Exism is then this mentoring. So we've got a team of mentors who are individually going in taking solutions that students have submitted and providing feedback. And again, this feedback is all about how to make things more idiomatic. So this is just an example in the background of someone's solution to a Ruby problem. I don't speak Go. I should say this at this point before anyone starts asking me questions about Go. It's not a language I'm particularly fluent in, but Ruby is something that I spend time mentoring in. So yeah, students, once they've finished an exercise, got it to a standard they feel happy with, they can submit it, and it will come into a queue where mentors can go and they can pick those exercises off and start giving feedback, start having conversations. And so as we are now moving forward with the Go Developer Network and with GoBridge, one of the things we're hoping is that that's going to attract more students who are going to come and be submitting solutions on Exercism. And then that all of the more experienced Go developers that are watching this and out there in the community can then come and start to give feedback to the students. And we found that mentoring is actually one of the best ways to get really good at a programming language from the mentor's perspective. Trying to explain concepts to a student, trying to explain why you feel that a certain thing is better than something else or why it makes sense. Sometimes that's really hard to do. If you're an experienced programmer, things just feel natural to you. And maybe you haven't even worked out why it is that you know that's right. And so mentoring is a great way of unpicking that knowledge and working out why you do certain things, really exploring the boundaries of your knowledge. You also see some crazy code that students will submit that you look at and you think, well, I don't understand how this even works, let alone. Those are brilliant opportunities for learning more about the language, for exploring more about the language as well. So I'll show you a little bit around Exercism in a moment, but just to think about how to help on Exercism. Exercism only works because of volunteers, because of people like you watching this. And so there's a few different ways that you can support. The first, as I say, is to come and mentor. It's a totally self-service system. You sign up, you get a queue of solutions that you're sharing with all the other people out there that are mentoring, and you can dive in, take a solution, start talking to a student. The second way then is actually contributing to the exercises in Exercism. So all of the learning content, again, is written by the community. We have maintainers who are the ones who are the gatekeepers, if you like, for the tracks. They do the design of working out how the track should be structured, what the concepts, what the exercises should be. And then volunteers come and they implement those exercises, writing new exercises, writing educational content. So if you're interested in the educational side of things, about how you write great learning content for people, this is a great place to do that. You can come and you can put pull requests in with improvements to exercises. You can open issues with suggestions of new concepts you might want to teach, and then go and do that and have your name next to all of those exercises for the thousands of students that will come along and use them. There's also technical contributions as well. So every language in Exercism has various tools that power things. So the most, in some ways basic, maybe not for some languages, but the most basic of these is a test runner. So the Go language test runner is written in Go. And what that does is it runs the student's code against the test for an exercise to see if they work or not, and then reports information back in a certain format so that our platform can pass that back to a student. So we have these written in every single programming language for the programming language that they are testing. But we also have analyzers and representers. One of the interesting things about Exercism, and one area that we're developing, is the ability for us to give automated feedback to students. So rather than students submitting something and waiting for a mentor to respond, we actually analyze the source code of what the student has uploaded, look at the abstract syntax tree of that, and start making intelligent suggestions on things that we know that they're doing wrong. So, for example, if somebody is using, as an example I can show you in a minute, they're using bytes instead of runes, we can automatically detect that and make a suggestion about that. Or if somebody's not running Go format on their solution, we can again suggest that. We also have another piece of tooling, which is called a representer. This is a really new thing that we're starting to experiment with now. A lot of tracks have built out representers. And a representer takes a student solution and makes a representation of it, a standardized version of that solution, so that we can compare it to other solutions. And what that allows us to do is look at a solution and say, has a mentor ever given feedback on something very similar to this before? And if we find that they have, we can then take the feedback that was given over there and apply it immediately to this solution. So cutting down that waiting time for a mentor and immediately giving that feedback over. So there's various interesting parts there of our tooling that you can come and you can contribute to if you know Go and you want to explore that, or if you know a different programming language and you want to start contributing in that. All of the different languages have got these as well. The fourth one is to donate. Exercism is a not-for-profit company. We are totally funded by donations. As part of this whole partnership, GoBridge has made a donation, which is really going to help us. So thank you to GoBridge for that. But we're increasingly trying to make sure we're funded by the people that use Exercism and that are able to afford donating to us, because that really means that we are able to align our goals and our mission to the people that are donating. So if you are fortunate enough to be in a good financial situation and you like what we're doing and you enjoy Exercism, please do consider donating. If you're not in a financial situation to do that, then there's zero pressure or expectation. We're deliberately free because we want anyone to be able to benefit from this regardless of their financial situation. So please never feel any guilt that you can't donate. We try and make sure there's never any of that in the platform. The fifth and maybe the easiest way is to bring us Go students. And I'll talk more about how you could do that in a moment. So just to break those things down a little further. So I can give you a little tour of this in a second, but if you want to mentor, the easiest thing is just to sign up on the website. There's no vetting process. You go in, there's a couple of questions we ask just to get you to sort of confirm that you'll stick to the code of conduct and a couple of other things. There's a couple of videos of me talking that you can watch if you've not had enough of me from this. But then you can just jump straight in and you can start exploring solutions. And we also have our own Slack room. I know there's the Go for One, the mentoring channel on there that Angelica mentioned at the start. But we've also got our own Slack workspace. There's about 6,000 people on there. And our mentors chat both within a language, but also as just general mentors across lots of languages. When you sign up to become a mentor in the website, you'll automatically get an invitation sent out to you for that Slack, and then you can just come and jump in. But I'm also going to be telling our mentors about the Gopher Slack as well. So if you've so they can go there and join them. So a couple of options of how you can do that. If you want to contribute to Exercism, be that to the content, be that to the tooling, you'll see when you jump into Exercism across the top bar that there's a contribute tab. That lists all of the issues across GitHub that are tagged in a certain language. So you can go and you can filter by Go there, and you can see all of the various things where we need help with Go. And that task list is always changing, always updating as our maintainers put more things on, as volunteers come in and suggest things that get approved as ideas. So yeah, keep an eye on that. You can jump in again, you can filter by lots of languages, you can filter by different complexities of tasks. Have a look at that and dig in. If you do have an idea for something, so not a task that's already there, maybe you've got an idea about a concept you think that Exercism should be teaching, but it's not at the moment and there's not already an issue for, please open an issue at github.com/exercism/go. One of our maintainers will then jump in and have a chat with you about how that could work. It's best to open issues on there that are things that you are interested in contributing to, rather than just sort of us having a million ideas on there. So if you're interested in making an exercise on something or on writing some content on something, please just open an issue there. More often than not, it's a good idea to open an issue and chat about things before you start sending pull requests, but we're also grateful for pull requests as well. And again, all of our maintainers are on Slack. There's a lot of activity there, both within the Go channel, but also within all the other languages. So sign up to become a mentor, you'll get an invite. It's the same Slack workspace, and you can come and contribute there. Finally, it's sort of self-explanatory, but how to share this. So firstly, I would just say Exercism is designed to be a really friendly, user-friendly platform. So you should just be able to send people to Exercism. They should be able to sign up and just get going. There's nothing you should need to tell someone to really get them started. There's also a specific GDN and GoBridge partner page I haven't put the link on here, but it's exercism.org/partners/GoBridge or /GDN, I think redirects. And that just talks a little bit about this partnership as well. So if you want to send it to somebody within sort of the Go community, you can do that. You can also use Exercism just for personal mentoring. So I talked about how someone can submit and a mentor goes into a queue and picks it up. Students can also just send a link to a mentor who they just want to get one-to-one mentoring with. And one of the things that we're going to be working on and building out over the next few months as well is interactive mentoring, where a mentor and a student are in the same online editor and they can be chatting while they're coding together. So that's all going to be coming over the next sort of 6 months or so. But you can use this for those one-to-one sessions. We have people who mentor their children on the programming language, or if you're mentoring colleagues at work. We also have people who use Exercism as an interviewing platform. So any of that sort of private mentoring stuff, you can use this one-to-one links. Tell everyone in your company about it, tell your colleagues about it, get them to have fun learning new programming languages and Exercism. You don't have to contribute to Exercism to use it. You know, it's first and foremost a platform to learn and to get good at programming. So recommending it to everyone, whether they're more junior or more senior people wanting to learn new languages, is a great way to do things. And also, you know, could your company sponsor us if you're using it and other people in your company are using it? Maybe your company would like to make a CSR style donation to us. That'd be incredibly gratefully received. And finally, have a shout out on Twitter. We're exercism_io. Annoyingly, if you know anyone in Twitter that can get us Exercism, which is cyber squatted, I would really appreciate that. Yeah, shout out on Twitter and we'll probably retweet your tweet. So those are my slides. You can go and explore everything at Exercism. I don't know how we're doing for time. I'm going to look at the clock. So we're sort of halfway through the time. So I can show you around quickly a little bit, but there's nothing really that I can show you that you're not going to discover yourself by just jumping in, signing up, going to the Go track and starting to play with a couple of exercises. You'll see everything in action very quickly. So I don't know if there's questions, Angelica, at this stage, or if you would like me to do a bit more of a tour of the platform.
Jeremy, how's it going? I'm stepping in for Angelica right now.
Okay, hi, Robin.
Yeah, so there's definitely a few questions that came in. I think
Cool.
One of the biggest ones, if you want to answer it now before jumping into the demo, I think it actually might be helpful.
Okay.
I think there's some really good chatter around Exercism and making it available in multi-languages. You know,
Okay.
specifically one of the questions that came in through YouTube: are there any plans to provide Exercism in Portuguese or any other languages? So I think would be great to hear that.
Sure. So it's something we've talked about a load, and Brazilian Portuguese actually is the one that comes up the most. People are always asking for a Brazilian Portuguese translation. I don't know specifically what it is about that, but yeah, that's something. So yes, it's something that we're definitely interested in doing. The challenge with it is that we have a lot of learning content. So, you know, thousands of exercises in different programming languages, lots of documentation, loads of supporting material, loads of teaching material. And it's very frequently updated. So every day, lots of tracks are updated with new content. The concern I have with trying to move to have lots of different translations and natural language translations is that we're going to need to be constantly updating those translations on a daily basis. Otherwise, we're going to end up in situations where those translations are out of date with the exercises. And so suddenly you're going to get introductions or instructions for an exercise that then are different in one language to another. And so the concern I have is that unless we have people who are committed to literally day in, day out, updating everything, we could end up in quite a tricky situation quite quickly. And that's really just a problem we've not solved yet. Probably to do it, I think we need to hire someone who's responsible for full-time working on Exercism, keeping it up to date in multi-languages, and just managing that whole sort of thing. So we have a sort of hiring plan of the next 4 people we want to hire. And then probably in my mind, the 5th or 6th person we hire would manage that. If an organization came along and that was something they specifically wanted to fund, then that might be something we were interested in. So if there are organizations or companies out there that are interested specifically in doing that and can help us with that, then that's something we would definitely talk about and explore. But without that dedicated person, I think there's a real risk it could become detrimental to the whole experience for people who are learning in those other languages where things suddenly feel out of date. I don't know if that answers that question, if there's any follow-ups from people about that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, thank you for that. I think that was a great response, covers a lot of ground. And I think, I think one of the big things you mentioned there was about, keeping it up to date. I remember, back early on with exorcism, a lot of the documentation was, a lot of the trucks were really auto-generated, right? I think a lot of it was being extracted and generated into those documents. So I think keeping the upkeep is a really big problem. So I appreciate you mentioning that. I think there's a few more questions, but I would like to sort of save them for the end so that you can kind of walk through the demo, and then maybe we can go from there.
Sure. Let me try and work out how to share my screen again. I seem to find working out how to share my screen incredibly complicated for some reason. So I think, can you see that? That should be Exorcism as a website.
Yes,
brilliant. So this is Exorcism. I'm logged in here. This is my account, but you can, if you view this without, you'll see some external landing pages. But as you can see here, there are 55 different programming languages we have to master. There's a few at the top that I started, and then a load more below. But you can jump in, sign up, it will take you here, and you can then jump into Go. Every track starts with a Hello World exercise, which is just a basic exercise. There's no intelligence really required to solve this. It's a pretty trivial thing, and it's just really designed to familiarize you with exorcism and familiarize you with how solving an exercise works. So if we jump into this, there are two ways to solve exercises on exorcism. Traditionally, for the last, goodness knows, 7 years, everything you've done in exorcism has been local. So you've downloaded an exercise via our program. Exorcism has a command line program that you use. You solve the exercise locally, and then you upload the exercise onto the website. So you can still do that now. It's still a hugely popular way of using exorcism. You can use this command here. So you would just come in, you would click on this, that would give you a command. You would then run that. You need to install the exorcism CLI, the program first, but that's pretty easy to do. But as of September, when we launched the new version of Exorcism, we now have this online editor. So you can jump in here. You can see on the left-hand side here is a bit of a stub of something, and then some instructions on the right. So the instructions for this are pretty simple. You're to create a program that returns the phrase, "Hello World." So every exercise has some tests. You can click run tests, and it goes and it runs the tests. And you can see here that it's saying it expected to get Hello World, but instead it got Goodbye Mars. And that's because at the moment we're returning the string Goodbye Mars. So we change this to say Hello World. We hit run tests again. This is going and running in the infrastructure. I mentioned the test runners earlier that we've got, and now you'll see that the tests pass. So all of the exercises, pretty much, there's a couple that can't, but pretty much all the exercises in exorcism can be solved on this online editor via this. So once you've got this, you're happy with this, you've maybe tidied it up, you can, deleting a space means I have to rerun the tests, you can then submit your code into exorcism. And this is like then an iteration, a sort of save point that you've got. And this is the equivalent of uploading something from your local computer via our CLI. So we then do some analysis on this. So we check the solution to make sure that it's idiomatic. So this is where I mentioned earlier, the analyzers and the automated feedback via the representers. I'll show you a little bit about that in a second. But for that Hello World, it's pretty simple. Everything passes. So I can then mark this as complete. Let's not worry too much about that modal for now. And then I'm done. I've got this exercise. It's completed. Wahoo. So having a look back then at the main Go page, you can see I've completed the first of these exercises. And then there's a whole load more exercises. And these are arranged, as I mentioned earlier, into a syllabus. So this is the syllabus of Go. These are the different concepts that our maintainers have written information for, cover different things. You can see them all here. This is very much the start of what we want the Go concept tree to look like. This is if you wanted to come and contribute content to exercism. This is the bit where we would love content the most. I'll show you what a concept looks like. So all of the tracks start with a basics concept. And this is really just the fundamentals you need to know to do anything in that language. So in Go, we talk a little bit about packages, variables, constants, functions. And we're expecting that you as a developer know what these things are. If you're teaching a student on this, it's expecting that the student is going to understand a general concept of what a function is from doing some other language before. So we're not pitching this to a beginner. We're pitching this to what a function is in Go and how that might differ from something you've done before. So we expect people to know what it means to return something, but we're explaining that there is a return keyword in this language, which there isn't in many other languages. We also explain that there's two different types of comments that you use, etc., etc. And you can see as well who's contributed to this. So we try and really expose throughout exercism the authors of these things, any people that have contributed to these things. And also, and I can show this a bit more in a minute, but everyone gets reputation. So the more you contribute, the more you do, whether that's mentoring, contributing on GitHub, whether it's just publishing solutions that people like that are really good, you get these reputation points that help move you, make you more predominant within our community. So if we come up and we look at this exercise, so the first exercise and the one that teaches this basics concept, if you like, is called Gopher's Gorgeous Lasagna. So again, you've got a stub on the left, which has got some information in. I'll run the tests. But you've also got some the same sort of information here on the left-hand side that I showed you, and then some instructions with a series of tasks. Each task takes you a little further through this exercise. And normally tasks are one-to-one with some sort of function that you're defining. And you can see here that we ran the tests and we get an error for these various things. So I have over here, because I don't speak Go, some code that I stole earlier off somebody else. Hopefully you can still see the screen and that's broken it. If I run the tests here, that should then give us, that passes. So this is a basic solution to this exercise. We don't need to worry about what the code is for now. But again, we can submit this. And again, that code passes fine. We can mark this as, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. So at this point, this is where a student might then choose to submit this for mentoring. So we don't actively promote mentoring on these learning exercises. We try and keep those for the practice exercises that bring concepts together, which I'll show you in a moment. But students can at any point get mentored by a human, as we say. You can come into the mentoring bit, you can read a little bit about it if you've not done mentoring before. And this is the link I mentioned earlier to send. Students can send a one-to-one link to a mentor. So they can just click on that, copy it to the clipboard, send it to somebody. And that's a private mentoring link where that person can then give them feedback. But really at this stage, somebody's going to say, okay, I would like some mentoring on this. They can fill in a little bit of information. So they tell mentors what they're hoping to learn from the track, and they say exactly what they're trying to learn from with this solution. If there's anything they found particularly difficult or any questions they've got, they can submit that. That's going to end up in the queue, and then mentors are going to go and pick that off. So I just want to show you a different example. So if we look at exercises, so these are all of the different exercises here. There's loads of them, as you can see. But there's one I want to look at because I know it's got a bit of automated feedback to show you that somebody helpfully gave me earlier. So this is a classic exercism exercise of calculating the Hamming distance between two DNA strands. It's surprisingly not that complicated exercise to solve. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. But it's a good exercise because it's really, really different in different programming languages as to how you solve it. So if I just paste this in here, so this is, again, don't worry about the implementation, but this is somebody's code. If you're a Go developer, you might look at this and you might see some issues or problems, or you might want to think you could mentor this or help this student. That's exactly what we're hoping for. But you can see that this solution looks great and it is passed. But you can see this little icon here shows that we've got two automated comments that we've automatically got. So the first of these is that this doesn't comply with Go format. Now, this is a bit problematic at the moment because we don't have the ability for somebody just to run Go format in our online editor. That is something we're going to be adding soon. We just need to do a few bits and pieces to get that in place. But we encourage students to run Go format because it's so important as part of Go. And we give some information on how you can do that locally if you're using the CLI to do things. But then also down here, we have a little bit of a comment about byte comparisons and how byte comparisons are fine for ASCII, but not UTF-8. And that instead, you might want to, I think, use rune comparison, someone said, and I believe that's something around here about changing things. Again, I'm not a Go developer, so I don't really understand this, but it's a good example of the sort of automated feedback that we're able to give quite quickly from analyzing the source code that someone's written. And so if that sounds like something you're interested in contributing to, and if you're interested in working out how we can give these sorts of automatic feedback to students, it's one of the more complex but interesting elements of Exercism to get involved in and to sort of test your own Go skills on. That's something you can contribute to as well. So that's the sort of student side. Obviously, there's loads more I could dig into, but for the sake of time, I won't. But another thing just to understand, actually, before I move on, is that you can also see other students' solutions to this. So I could look at this solution, it's a totally random example, by this person, and this is their solution to Hamming and what it looks like. If you've got questions about people's solutions here, or there's something you particularly love about someone's solution, you can jump in and you can write a comment about their solution as well that's public. But this isn't for mentoring. This is just if you see something you like and you're like, oh, I really want to understand more about that, it gives you an opportunity to have a bit of a discussion around that. But there's normally hundreds of solutions for each exercise that you can just explore. A lot of the work we've got planned is around working out how we group these solutions and intelligent ways of doing that so that we can show different approaches that people take to exercises, look at different ideas that people use and build some commentary around that. So that's sort of on our roadmap as exciting stuff coming soon. Just to quickly show you the mentoring side. So this is, I'm showing you the Ruby queue here because again, I'm not a Go mentor. And I think the Go mentors are actually pretty much on top of the queue right now. So, but these are Ruby solutions. This was 41 minutes ago. This person said they started learning Ruby at a dev bootcamp in 2015. There's a ton of Ruby fundamentals they want to know. Can we help? So they've submitted this code. I've not seen this before. So this person has submitted this and they say they've no idea really where to start with this. They would love some help with it. So I would read this. There's loads that as a Ruby developer, immediately I'm looking at and thinking, oh yeah, I could definitely help with this. What I would do is jump in here, hit start mentoring. There's a few things that immediately jump out that I would start to give feedback on in this point. Again, I won't bore you with them now, but I'd probably try and give one or two pieces of advice here that I think will just make this solution loads better. And often that's enough for just something to click in someone's mind where they're like, oh yeah, cool, okay, I understand that. I can see how that would work. And then they can submit a second iteration where they've addressed some of those things. And then if there's another sort of big thing that I could suggest, I would then type that in there. And so we'd normally have a discussion. It's totally asynchronous, probably over 2 or 3 days normally, just passing, I pass some ideas, they would pass another iteration or two of their code. And then at some point, hopefully they'll be happy with that. We can then end the discussion. Either of us can end the discussion whenever we feel we've got as far as possible. They then have the opportunity to say, this was great mentoring. They can leave a testimonial. If they feel there's something problematic with the mentoring as well, they can feed that back. And that comes to me with my admin hat on and some of our team. And those testimonials appear on people's profiles. So if I just dive in here and look at, say, Eric's profile, so Eric works for Exercism. So this is Eric's public profile. So you can see Eric's got 87,000 reputation, which is the most that anyone in the world has. And just to show you Eric's profile briefly, you can see how he's earned his reputation. So most of it is through building things, so building out bits of exercism, but also he's reviewed 5,500 pull requests. He's contributed to or authored 500 exercises, mentored 600 students. He's published 1,000 of his own solutions. And you can sort of drop in and see where he's done that. So you'll be able to see that actually a lot of his reps come in C#, where he's done lots of mentoring, maintaining, he's done a bit of building, etc. You can also look at the solutions that Eric has published, and you can explore those, and you can see the different things he's done. And you can also see that he's helped 677 students on 1,200 solutions, and that he's had 16 testimonials. So you can jump to his testimonials page and see what some of those look like. So people praising Eric and saying how great he is, and he is great. So that's nice to see. Some people have a ridiculous amount of these. So if I jump to Bobahop as an example, you can, it's going to take a minute to load this page because he like literally has 1,500 testimonials, and I haven't paginated this. So, you know, there are just a ridiculous amount of testimonials. And this is something that, you know, he is rightly proud of. If I look at also, just to show someone else off, Bitfield. If you don't know Bitfield, he's like our biggest Go mentor. He's pretty well known in the community, the Go community. But again, he's got nearly 1,000 testimonials, and nearly all of these are from Go, as you can see. So shout out to Bitfield as well for all of his hard work. Just to show you finally the contribute page. So the contributors, you can see 11,000 contributors. So the moment you start doing anything on exercism, so publishing your solutions, mentoring, contributing, you'll start to appear on this list. Obviously, getting up to these amounts of reputation takes time, and there are 569 pages worth of contributors, but we do have a last 7 days, which is the default view on this as well. So you can hopefully start to make a little bit of a name for yourself on exercism and appear on this page through doing things. So yeah, this is where you'll start to accrue reputation wherever you help out. And while that I'm sure won't be the aim of why you're helping exercism, it is a nice little way of saying thank you and maybe raising your profile within the community as well. And we do make a real effort to try and uplift our contributors as much as we can. I mentioned earlier as well the contributing page with the tasks. So these are all the different tasks that we need help with. So you can, there's these Go ones at the top here actually is a good example. So this is something that is improving student-facing content, fixing something that's broken. It's a small task. You don't need any existing exercism knowledge for it, and it's about learning exercises. You can see those on there. You can filter tasks by these different things at the top here. I won't show you too much this, but if you jump into this, you'll land on a GitHub issue where somebody 9 days ago Seth has written this. Seth is learning Go at the moment, although he's pretty good at it, and hopefully he's going to start joining as a mentor soon. But he's written some things to say this needs improving. There's been a bit of discussion around that. Jason is another great contributor to us, and Francisca June Dev is one of our maintainers here. So they've had that discussion, and you know, Francisca's now tagged it with these things, these labels, which are basically saying you can come and get involved. And those labels are what means that this appears on the GitHub website, on the exercism website over here. So that's a quick, like 2 minute, not 2 minutes, 15 minute brief walkthrough of what exercism looks like. I'll leave you with this donation page because, you know, I need to feed myself. But if you want to help us grow, you can just jump in here and just either make a one-off or a monthly donation on here as well. And we're always incredibly grateful for anyone that does that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and hopefully take some more questions.
Awesome. So I have 2 things to say. One is you've had an influx of people volunteering to help translate. You've got Italian, Portuguese, and Russian at this point.
Nice.
And I've actually pinged it in the chat so you can follow up.
Okay.
Kind of on the point of kind of mentoring, there are a few questions that I'm going to kind of summarize. What is the kind of level of knowledge you expect from your mentors? I.e., how much knowledge should you have before becoming a mentor? Is there any kind of, I guess, validation process you go through when someone wants to be a mentor? And then kind of along that same lines, had a few questions around, can anyone kind of do one-on-one mentoring, or is there a more formal registration process to become a mentor?
So great questions, thank you. And thank you to everyone that wants to help with the translation bit. We still need someone to lead that. But the moment we have someone to lead that, like, I would love to get everyone involved. So with the mentoring, there's no formal registration process at all. You sign up, you tick a few boxes to sort of, as I say, adhere to our code of conduct and some other things, and then you can jump straight into that. We've always found that people, with a few exceptions, people pretty much feel they need to be better than they do to be a mentor, which is one of the reasons that we don't have that formal vetting process. It's really rare for us to have a mentor that comes in who's not good enough. So firstly, if you think you're good enough to mentor on exercism, you almost certainly are. To try and put some sort of boundary on what we expect or what we would hope, if you can look at someone's code and something jumps out and you're like, oh, that's totally wrong, or like I totally know how they could do that better. That's all you need. Like, you don't need to be some sort of superstar. You just need to be able to help people. You're basically, giving code review just like you would on a pull request or something else. There's no ongoing obligation to mentor that person. You're not becoming their personal support network. You're really giving feedback on that exercise. And so I always encourage people to sign up and be a mentor, like, as soon as you can. Nothing's going to happen if you sign up, other than getting an invite to our Slack room, and maybe once every few months I might send an email out saying, oh, come and mentor again. Like, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to get access to the list of solutions and be able to dig in. And right now, if you do this, annoyingly, there's actually no solutions because our mentors are on top of the queue. But we're going to start really pushing out to all of our students again to get them to start submit solutions next week. So if you sign up now and then sort of check back on Monday, I think there'll start to be a massive influx of solutions coming in. But yeah, just browse through the solutions, and if there's something you see that you feel you can help with, just start mentoring them, help with that one thing. If they then come back and you're like, okay, I've got nothing else to add here, you just say that. And, I'm sure the student will appreciate you having helped them with that first step. So that's really enough. And generally, what makes a good mentor is somebody who is empathetic, who, has the right mindset and attitude. It's very rarely technical skill that's going to make a good mentor. It really is about, being kind. That's my number one thing that I say to people, wanting to help others. That's really it. So if that's where your mindset's at, that's enough. If you do get yourself into a situation as well where you don't know, there's just no harm in saying that. Like, a student's never going to get annoyed at you for saying, I don't know it. Sorry, I can't answer that question. Like, the moment you leave the mentoring session, they can always put it back in the queue for a different mentor to pick up as well. It's not like a one shot for a student. So you can take them a little bit and someone else can take over. In terms of the one-to-one mentoring, anyone can send anything to anyone. You do have to sign up as a mentor to be able to respond to the one-to-one mentoring. But again, there's no commitment when you do that. It's just that if you're not signed up to that, you can't get access to the whole mentoring UI. So yeah, a student, or a friend could send it to another friend. That person just sort of confirms the code of conduct and the things. They can then just deal with that one-to-one. They never have to actually go and look at the public queue, but it will just then appear in your private, in your mentoring session of solutions that you've mentored.
Awesome. And then kind of along those lines of having this one-on-one communication, having the ability to publicly, comment, testimonials, there's a lot of, it's a very open communication forum. How do you have any kind of code of conduct? Is there a process of vetting any kind of comments? You said that, for example, you can, as a mentee, say oh, I had a negative experience. Do you then kick people off as mentors? Like, I'm interested in how you retain the positive environment within the platform.
Sure. Yeah, really important questions, like massively important part of what we do. So yes, we have a code of conduct. Like every single GitHub repo that we have has that code of conduct in it. When you sign up to the website, you have to sign up adhering to the code of conduct just to use the website. When you sign up to be a mentor, we say, make sure you've really read this and you haven't just ticked the box, like sign up, like agree to it again. We absolutely enforce the code of conduct. I've kicked multiple people out of Exercism. My general attitude to code of conduct violations is that I try and presume best intentions and lost in translation stuff. Generally speaking, like I found that most things are resolved amicably. When they're not, I'll kick someone out, no questions asked. Like, yeah, 100%. We have, I mean, just to put this in example, if you say like use the word guys in our Slack forum, we'll get a Slack bot notification saying please don't use this. But we try and phrase that like I wrote that in a way that is, I'm not saying this is the wrong thing to use. I know Angelica's English as well and British, and in British speaking, guys is what I refer to like all of my female friends as. Like if you look in a dictionary, the British use of the word guys is a mixed gender group of people. So I always presume that if someone's saying guys, it's with good intention. Like I slip up sometimes in like international things, but we put it there and we say we've chosen not to use this word in our Slack because we know it's exclusive for some people. Please don't use it. And 90% of people then just, edit their Slack message and just change it to everyone or y'all or whatever. I'm not going to kick someone out because they accidentally use the word guys. Like that's not how we approach it. If somebody chooses to carry on using it and just ignoring what we're saying, then I'll probably one-to-one them and be like, look, I don't know if you've missed the Slack bot notification that's really big and in your face, but I just thought I'd one-to-one you about this. Please stop doing it. And if they then say, go die, you horrible woke person, I'll then just kick them out of the Slack. So, I get hate mail because we enforce our code of conduct. Like, I really do. Like, so yeah, but we're fine with that. My overarching thing is Exercism is a place to be kind. If you come in and you're not kind, you're not welcome in Exercism. And there are people who are mentors who have got hundreds of positive testimonials who I get code of conduct complaints about. Like that happens. And I would say the mentors who mentor the most, I get the most code of conduct complaints about. And that's a good indication to me that code of conduct complaints are often around things that are lost in communication, someone that's offended someone inadvertently. And there are times I reach out to those mentors and I say, look, you need to be a bit more careful about this, or look, could you deal with this? More often than not, I say to the student in that situation, like, I'll go and read everything really carefully, but I'll be like, I think you've probably taken it in a way that's not intended. I know this person, cares about this too. And, and normally that conversation is enough to fix the situation without me even involving the mentor, because I don't want them to end up feeling really rubbish about it unless they need to. But so hopefully that outlines like the approach. I think it's really important to understand the approach of how a code of conduct is dealt with, rather than just being like, yes, we enforce it, because I think that can be pretty scary for people. If you're trying to be kind and mentoring, you don't want to end up getting kicked off a platform because you said the wrong thing. Yeah, I'm happy with follow-up questions for that as well.
Thank you so much. I'll keep an eye out. Thus far, the last question is, you've talked a lot about like how individuals can use the platform to best their knowledge, or kind of to help teach, help mentor. Interested on kind of your experience or any advice you have on people using the platform to maybe help onboard their team to a new language. Like, for example, if you're, refactoring PHP to Go and you want to kind of help onboard the team to Go, is Exercism a good fit? If so, how would you utilize that?
Yeah, so great question. So traditionally, up to September, we had a subsite of Exercism called Exercism Teams, where you could join up with a private team and effectively just work together. We got rid of that in September. The reason we got rid of it is because we want to build it out as a really great product. And it was very half-baked as a sort of, let's build this and see what happens with it previously, quite deliberately, because we didn't know how people would use it. So at the moment, right now, yeah, you can do it. The easiest way is just to share private mentoring links with each other and have a Slack channel on, like have a channel on your Slack room where you do it. But there's no particularly great mechanism within Exercism. Next year, Q1, Q2, maybe, we'll be launching Exercism Teams as a standalone product for teams for exactly the purposes you say. It will have an interactive editor, so two people can work together in the editor, like chatting about stuff. We'll have a video call there, so you can choose the video or typing, and you can both be interacting in that editor at the same time. It's going to have a honesty box style cost model, which is basically, if you're using this for non-for-profits, personal use, that sort of stuff, then it's totally free. Like, always donate if you can, please. But yeah, no obligation. If you're using this in a company to onboard a team, or for the sort of examples you said, then this is sort of what we feel an appropriate donation would be. If you choose not to do this, we're not going to come after you. It is just like an honesty box model. But if you're getting a commercial benefit from this, please help support our vision and our mission. So that would be the sort of way we're doing it. I don't know what those numbers look like yet and things like that. But it's actually part of how we're going to be using the donation that GoBridge have given us as well. That was how we said we would use that, was to build out the team side of things. And so, different organizations, for example, within GoBridge, different groups within GoBridge, or different groups within the Go Developer Network could then have their own little teams where they're doing that sort of thing as well. So yeah, it's something that I know a lot of people are really excited about. It's something we're really excited about internally as well. So yeah, for now, go and use a Slack room. It's fine. It will work. It will just be a little suboptimal. But then, yes, keep your ears open, and obviously we'll email and stuff when that comes out later in beginning of next year.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm not seeing any new questions coming in at the moment. So I maybe just would say, how can people follow up with you? I'm sure that a lot of people, especially those that this is all new to, will have kind of things pop up in like the next 10 minutes and be like, oh no, I didn't answer this thing. So how can they get in contact? So
a couple of ways. The easiest is if you just sign up to be a mentor, then you will get invited to our Slack room. In the Slack room, there's an introductions channel. Introduce yourself. Then there's like a channel for Go, which is Track Go, and maintaining Go has one if you're interested in maintaining it. And there are general sort of cross-language chat channels you'll find as well. You'll be invited to a few just automatically when you sign up. So that's the easiest way, mainly because you don't want to be in touch with me. You want to be in touch with the community, because they understand what goes on as much as I do most of the time, and you'll get quicker responses. But if you can also tweet, so exercism.io, exercism_io is our Twitter handle. So yeah, you can tweet. I manage that, so I'll respond when I get a chance. You can email whatever you want at exercism.org. Like my email response time is weeks as most of the time, so it's not a quick method. But if you have something that you feel you need to ask me specifically rather than the community, then feel free to do that, and I will just email when I get around to it. But you'll have to forgive the slowness there. If you want to follow me personally, I'm IHID everywhere, so you can see that on Twitter, and if you need to one-to-one me on Slack, I'm that as well there. So those are the easiest ways, I think. But yeah, Slack's always our primary way. And just sign up to your mentor, and you should get an invite with whatever your Exercism email address is, which is probably the same one you've got on your GitHub.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, chatting to us today. Very excited, as I'm sure many others are, to get more involved and dive into Exercism. I, for one, will be diving in. I'm ashamed to say I've not. Wilkin, my wonderful co-host, actually, I had a coffee with him when I was first thinking of learning Go. And I asked him, what is the one thing this week I can do to learn Go? And he straight away, he was like, get on Exercism. And never looked back. here I am now.
Great. Great. Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you everyone who's been watching. Keep an eye on the YouTube channel. As I say, we should be publishing the live stream video by end of day, if not tomorrow latest, subject to possible edits. But I think this was a beautiful stream that will need no edits. So thank you again, and I am going to sign us.
Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you Angelica and GoBridge and Go Developer Network for your support. It's incredibly appreciated.
We just